Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kieran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there. But guitarists still like to go to guitar shops, and musicians still like to go and look at, instruments and things that they play and go and check things out. And and I'm sure that community is still there, where there's that music store in your town that people go to, and the person who runs that store has got a connection with all those different people, especially if there's semi-renowned to renowned bands that are in the area that gig quite frequently, that are looking for musicians. Those people who run those stores probably know that those bands are looking for musicians, or they might put ads up in the store. Do you remember doing the old thing where you would print an ad saying band looking for guitarist, and across the bottom you'd have like 10 numbers you could
tear off strips?
People still do that, I'm sure.
They still do that.
Greetings and welcome back to the Guitar Smarts podcast. Hope you're keeping safe and well. This week, Kieran and me are following up on last week's conversation about why you should join a band. We're talking about how you can join a band. Saying that being in a band is the best thing ever is all good and well, but even trying to find one that needs you is hard work and lots of effort. So we're going to try and talk about some simple ways that you can make the process simpler. Housekeeping. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. Why? Because you'll get alerts when a new podcast is released. That means you won't miss another show. And if you like to subscribe because you like the show and listen to us regularly, then use the links in the description of this show to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us, and it helps us to grow. There are links in our description to our social media pages too, links to our Buy Me a Coffee page. Come and see us on the social pages and we'll be happy to see you there, especially on the Guitar Geek Hangout group on Facebook, where you can interact with Kieran and myself. That's about enough from me. Let's get to it. Kieran, how are you doing, mate? You well?
I'm really good, Matt. I'm really good, buddy. I'm excited to see your beautiful smiling face. The sun is shining outside. We've got a great topic for conversation today. The weekend is almost on us. It's just everything.
It's already on me. It's already on me. I've got some time off because it was my son's sports day yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And my parents are coming down this weekend, so I thought I'll take today off as well. And I've been like cleaning the cars this morning before the sun gets round to the front of the house. The drivers, get the cars done. I've got some gardening to do. All kinds of stuff planned today. And so I'm happy. And I've got to say, I got a huge thank you to, and we said it in the intro to the last podcast, but a huge thank you to Mr. Andrew Cole, who made a donation on the Buy Me a Coffee page. So here is my, you can't see it, you're listening, but I'm telling you, I've got my little Starbucks cold coffee here, which is delicious. I'm enjoying it. So thank you very much for that, Andrew Cole.
Good man.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, Andrew. Keeping the podcast going through caffeine. What a gentleman.
Well, I want to know how many people who actually take donations through buymeacoffee.com actually then spend it on coffee.
That's what it's for, isn't it? That's what it's for. Yeah. That's what it's for.
I mean, we've not entered into a contract. I mean, but still.
That's true. There's kind of an expectation. I mean, it clearly says buy me a coffee, not buy me a pack of new guitar strings, right? You have bought coffee now, which is great. That's really cool. That's really cool and much appreciated. I was laughing at you for doing the cars and the gardening, but not in a malicious way. I was laughing because we've clearly reached an age where our lives, even though we don't necessarily speak all the time during the week, are just following some weird parallel, because literally that is what I've spent time doing this week as well, whilst not working, is cleaning both the cars, getting the garden sorted. And so it's just like, wow, what have we become? Well, we need to put that right, Matthew, and we need to discuss guitars and all things guitar related.
Yeah, we do.
And get back to what we do best.
Now is the time. This is the time. This particular slot on a Friday is when we put that right.
Exactly. This is not lawn talk. This
exactly.
This is not the car washing. This is not the car wash podcast. Yeah. Although, mate, I could quite happily do a podcast on car washing because I'm a little bit geeky about it.
Are you really? Are you a bit of a? Are you? So okay, let me guess. You don't wash the cars, do you? You detail them. Is that right?
It depends how much I've got time for, but There's a whole process.
I'm not at that level because of a time. It's a time thing for me, and no, maybe it's mowing the lawn.
Snow foam. You got into snow foam. Oh, your lawn. Your lawn is amazing. I could do another
podcast about lawn care for sure.
You could.
That's my other passion, looking after the lawn, which actually is suffering a bit at the moment because of the heat, but still very green, still very manicured. Got it all trimmed yesterday, and
that's not easy.
The edges. Yeah,
without rain. Have you been watering it yourself? Is that what it is? You just
absolutely
with a hose.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't water itself, Kieran. So
I can't do that. I mean, look, I'd be there for years trying to. No, when it rains, it's green. But actually, it's not looking too bad. Can we talk about guitars, please? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do lawn. I don't want to do lawn tops. Only because your lawn is much lusher and more verdant than mine.
Yeah. Well, it's been a few weeks since we spoke. So tell me, Kieran, what have you been up to guitar-wise? Have you gigged since we last spoke?
Yes, I think so. When did we last speak? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Can't remember, mate. It's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it? I don't think I've had a gig in a couple of weeks. No, actually, I probably haven't gigged. But I've got quite a few coming up. I've got like a concertina of them backed into the last few weekends of July. Yeah. So, it's going to be busy. And then August, got some. But no, I don't think I've done any. Haven't done much gigging. I've done some. I tell you why I'm confused, because there's been a lot of band chat going backwards and forwards on the message group, and we've been organising some new songs that we're going to learn for the next few gigs. So I've been learning a lot of songs and chatting to the band. So it feels like I've been gigging in a weird way.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we've been chatting about it, talking about keys, talking about arrangements. Yeah. I've been learning these songs and putting into practice some of the top tips that we actually discussed. And some of these songs actually have just literally fallen under my fingers so quickly. I've been impressed even myself.
Oh, well done, Matt. That's fantastic.
I know. I'm making progress, and some of them have made me realise that I need to keep my ego in check, and actually they're much more complicated than I thought they were.
But you should give yourself more credit for that, because I think what you've proved to yourself is that it's a muscle, right? You know, it's like anything else. If you try and practice learning and transcribing songs week by week, whether you need to as a necessity for the band you're in or not, then that's always going to be a fit and healthy muscle in your mind, isn't it?
That's it. You know? That's right. And you get into that rhythm and you go, oh, this is good. I can do this. But the one that I went through this nice rhythm of learning like a few songs. I just thought, I'll do 3 or 4 songs in a row, and I was like, this is going really well. And then I got to the next one on the list, and it was The One and Only by Chesney Hawkes, which is certainly a crowd pleaser.
Great guitar solo. That's
great
fantastic.
Guitar. I underestimated the song.
Yeah.
I've never learned that song.
What is it goes all over the place. 2 or 3 key changes, maybe.
I quickly. This is the one that sobered me up and made me go, hold on a minute, don't get cocky, because I thought in my head, that's a simple song. I'll keep going and bash through that in a few minutes and get it under the fingers.
There's a genius of Mr. Nick Kershaw who wrote that song.
There you go.
And played the solo, I believe, on the track.
So be confident. Did he?
I think so. I think Nick Kershaw wrote the song and played the guitar solo on the original.
I didn't realise Nick Kershaw was such a good guitar player. It's a good guitar
player, yeah. Fantastic. It's a little bit shreddy.
It is shreddy.
Actually, it's quite like that ends with like this legato thing. I've never been able to do that end bit. But it's that's a hell of a guitar solo.
It's not actually the guitar solo that's phasing me. That I can just kind of pretty much pick up on the main phrases. It's the arrangement.
Yeah.
It's the arrangement, mate. And it's just remembering all of those bits and making it sound nice and full with one guitar for this band.
Yeah.
I'll get there. Yeah. It just reminded me to take a step back and break it down and learn it properly, rather than trying to fake my way through it. Otherwise it just sound daft. So all your advice. What was the phrase you had? Slow but steady.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. And it's so true of everything. It really is. I mean, you can take that and apply it to anything.
Lawn care,
car washing, coffee making, Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent. So yeah, that's what I've been doing guitar-wise. How about you, buddy? You've been out gigging. You've been gigging. Yeah.
I had a gig, yeah. So I did a dep gig with a band that I haven't played with before. But I knew one of the guys it's a really bizarre situation where like half the band was deps, but one of the deps depped the gig, if that makes sense. So the guy
that sounds like one of those riddles as a child.
Actually, funnily enough, it was Nick Kershaw's drummer who depped the gig out. It was a guy called Phil Grossbeck, who's a German drummer I've known for years, but he plays with Go West, and he plays with a lot of these 80s. Yeah, he's Go West's drummer. He's Michael Mechanic's drummer. He plays with a lot of these 80s. There's a lot of 80s festivals that happen.
Yes,
he plays with a lot of these 80s bands. And he depped the gig last minute to Belinda Carlisle's drummer.
Wow.
So it was, but I mean, like, nice bloke. I mean, these guys just, they all know each other. They're all doing each other's gigs all the time, kind of things. They're doing these festivals around the country with, aged 80s rock stars. But so it was funny because it was kind of like, it was one of those gigs again where, the majority of the band are just turning up and, doing everything for the first time and meeting the guys who run the band. But it went really, really well. But the main thing was that that was the first gig for the Gretsch, the green goblin here.
The green goddess, yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. And the main reason I was going to gig it anyway, but the main reason I was like, okay, definitely got to gig it is because this is the man that had like a Beatles medley as well as a couple of other Beatles songs in the set. And they had things like Roy Orbison, Pretty Woman, some really classic rock and roll stuff, Johnny B. Good. And I thought this is ideal, for the, a thin line Gretsch kind of thing. I really enjoyed playing it. It was brilliant. My only thing with it is it's Bigsby tuning stability, right? That's the only thing which bothered me a little bit with it. I still love it, obviously. I love playing it. It sounded great. It performed beautifully. It's just kind of like, it's a shame. I've just got to deal with the fact that Bigsby's don't have brilliant tuning stability. It's a bit like a floating tremolo, right? Everything else all the other strings react to you tuning one of the other strings. And then I did the second half of the night on the Strat, on the old Reliable, and it was fantastic. So it was a really good gig. Really enjoyed it, and I've got another one with that band at the beginning of September down in Exeter. So looking forward to that.
Wow.
That'll be really good.
Mate, that's fantastic. And it sounds like there's some really nice caliber musicians that you're playing with as well, which is...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, the thing is, this is what I've only really been kind of privy to recently, which is these gigs, these wedding gigs, these are probably the highest paying gigs for most musicians, $200-300 quid a gig. Yeah. If you're playing in, Go West at a festival, you're not getting that money for the gig.
Really?
You'd probably be surprised. I was surprised, but, for a lot of those guys that are out touring, doing a lot of gigs, they're earning more money because you're getting paid when you're traveling, you're getting paid when you're gigging, you're probably out for 2-3 weeks at a time doing a tour in the UK than you might do Europe. So there's more of a living than doing a wedding gig every weekend, but the per gig pay is way better in the wedding world than it is in the touring world. So that's why you see a lot of these guys that are doing gigs like, a permanent full-time band members for these 80s guys. They're still picking up as many wedding gigs as they can because it's a bonus for them. It surprised me that.
Wow.
But they're great musicians. And it's always a pleasure to play with people like that because you feel, this is great. I get to play with people who are better than me. That's so important. I've always found that I've noticed, like when we've talked about jam nights before, or just, the last one we did, why you should be in a band. One of the things I forgot to say about that was try and be in a band with people who are all better than you, because it's such an inspiring thing. You don't want to be it's like, don't be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room, because then who's there to learn from? So
that's it exactly. It pushes you on, it gives you something to look up to.
Exactly.
Even if you are the smartest person in the room or the best person in the room, there's always something you can learn from someone else. And to be honest, being in a band is not about being the smartest person in the room, right? It's as we discussed, right? It's a team dynamic. So in some instances, you've almost got to play to the lowest common denominator, but and help bring people up to where you need to get them to.
For sure.
Oh, cool, man. Now, those gigs sound amazing. I'm so glad the Gretsch is out there as well. But
me too.
You got a nice little arsenal of guitars now to choose from.
Guitars, yeah, I know. I'm kind of craving a proper Gibson Les Paul, though. That's probably the next one in a few years' time, maybe. After some other things are done, in other areas of life. Excuse me. If I'm going to get another guitar in the future, I think I want a proper, decent Gibson standard Les Paul, and I'm thinking what do you call it? Not a quilt top.
Plain top.
Yeah, plain top. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd love a really nice plain top, like dark burst.
Yeah, lovely.
Kind of like one of the Tokais you've got, I guess. But the Tokai's got a flame top.
It's got a flame on it. Yeah. Clapton used to have a dark burst plain top.
He did. Yeah.
For quite a while.
I would just love, and this is because of Danny Lean. Danny Lean posted on the Guitar Geek Hangout, which is our new page, our new little group for us to kind of communicate with people with. He posted some good pictures of his Gibson Les Paul. He's got an absolute beaut of a Les Paul.
Yeah, it does look stunning. Yeah, it's really lovely.
I'm kind of craving one of those.
I don't know if I'd advise anyone to buy another Les Paul or a Les Paul from Gibson, unless that's real. I mean, what am I saying? It's been the guitar I've coveted for years, but owning them is, I don't know. I know Danny plays his a lot, and it's a beautiful sounding one, and I play my ones as well. I'm just going back to the whole kind of taking them out, gigging them in pubs, and being afraid to get them damaged and trashed kind of thing, versus something more affordable. Which, owning a Gibson Les Paul is a pain, right? That's what I'm getting at. It's a pain.
Why?
You'll always worry about it being damaged or nicked, and it costs a load of money, he says, with a few of them sitting behind him.
Life's too short, Kieran.
I know. It is too short. Hold on a minute. What's happened? This is a massive role reversal.
I know. I don't know what's happened there.
You've got the bug now. That's it.
No,
just go buy guitars.
We need to move on. We're not on this conversation.
Let's get you purchasing something. Buy something quickly. Do it now. Let's go.
It's not going to happen. Anyway, sorry to interrupt this conversation. However, if you made it this far, you should definitely subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast app. Go and do that now, then come right back. I'll wait here. Hey, welcome back. We're talking about two things this week. First thing we're doing is we're addressing an excellent question that we've had on the Guitar Smarts Facebook page. And the other thing we're going to talk about is kind of, I think, a follow-on from our last podcast, which is why you should join a band. And that's what you can do to prepare and get yourself ready for auditioning. Maybe a band that you're looking to join want to audition you, and they've told you to learn some tracks or whatever and come to a rehearsal or whatever it is. But we're going to talk about that.
Cool. All right, cool. So great. Sounds like we've got a nice link to the last episode on why you should join a band. And what was the question?
Okay, so follower of the Facebook page, Mr. Josh Chudley, asked us a question a few days ago, and it kind of, I kind of feel for Josh because he's in a position where he's finding it difficult to join a band. He said, "How do you find a band?" I've exhausted any ideas. I've moved to Southport 18 months ago. If you don't know, Southport is a town on like the northwest coast of England. It's just like between Liverpool and Blackpool. A beautiful town, actually. I'm surprised. Struggling, but 18 months ago, so he moved to Southport 18 months ago. He knows no one. He set up a jam night, but that's slowly dying and not developed into anything. So he's really struggling to find a band. Josh obviously clearly wants to get out there and express himself, be in a band and perform. Yeah. And I did answer your question, Josh, online, but Kieran and I thought it was pertinent enough that we should talk about this on the podcast because it's a really great question. And I also, I have empathy for you because I've struggled. I still want to join a band myself. Although I get to do some good dep gigs every year, and I keep a handful of them in the diary for the sake of getting out there and playing and earning a little bit of extra cash. Really, what I want to do is kind of what you do, Kieran, which is join a more local band and get out there and gig for the fun of it, and be less stressful because it's not a business, commitment from somebody who's sold a gig to a wedding or a function. Sure. It's more of you turning up to a pub to play and have some fun. So. I had some ideas as to what he could do, which I put on the website. And the first one I had was, to put up some advertisements, maybe online. Yeah. First of all, join my band, bandmate.co.uk, Facebook pages, find some musician pages, some live music pages, have a look at Lemon Rock. So do some research just to, where you can interact with people. And I think that's the first thing. Is that kind of what you did when you found your band? Yeah, so I tried a bunch of different things to try and find bands, and let's start there with the ones you've mentioned. Just a quick question: do we definitely know that Josh is in the UK, Southport, and not North Carolina, Southport in the US? Oh, do you know what? I actually have no idea. It's a really good question. It may be that he's in. Yeah, it's a good point. It may be that. Actually, I'm just going to click on his. Right, so I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he is in the UK because his picture references the NHS in some way on. All right, cool. Well, look. So the only reason I asked that is because there is different sites and stuff. But let's cover some of the UK ones and some of the US ones as well. Anyway, just so that everyone's got a good idea. And in whichever country you're listening in, that you'll have sites like this. So. I think, probably the first place to look, which is easy to do because it's in your hand, it's in your phone, is let's start with some of these online sites and there are some that are dedicated to it, right? So you've mentioned a few of these. Bandmix.co.uk is a UK one. You've got joinmyband.co.uk. They are great places to start. I have had limited success putting my own advert onto those and people contacting me. I've had really good success and hit rates at frequently scouring the search function and narrowing it down to the kind of area that I live in and looking for guitarist wanted ads. Okay. So rather than trying to put yourself out there for people to contact you, you found it better to use it as to find a band looking for somebody. For sure. Okay, got it. For sure. And then I've got some kind of tips and stuff around how to kind of trawl through that, right? Because there's a lot of things you kind of see when you read through those adverts. But the last few bands that I've been in, including the band we were in together many years ago, was found through websites like this, and me reaching out and contacting the person that had posted the ad. So I've had great success with those. But I've always put my own advert on there as well, telling people who I am, my little brief resume, CV of what I can offer them, and I'm pretty sure no one reads or contacts that way. People are more wanting to be approached rather than do the hard work themselves. So you're going to have to trawl through those adverts and read through all of the guitarist wanted ones. And in that, you will also need to be pretty flexible and open-minded, I would say, is my next tip around the advert itself, right? Because people will write fairly nondescript stuff sometimes, which you may dismiss.
but keep an open mind, right? So people will put things in there around the types of genre of music they're looking for, the type of age range that they are, their location, how frequently they're gigging or rehearsing or whatever. And there is a tendency that we all have to kind of look at it and go, yeah, that doesn't sound like it's for me. It doesn't sound like it's for me. Just try and keep an open mind, read between the lines, and I would say contact them. And send them a copy of your resume. It's like hunting for any job, right? You know, if around 50 to 60% of what they're saying in their advert is roughly there, right? If they're a thrash metal band and you're a kind of finger picking guitarist or whatever, then you're probably, and you're not interested in thrash metal, then that's definitely not close enough, right? But I do know a lot of people that self-limit because it's not quite the set list they were looking for, or if they're, gigging maybe slightly outside the desired area, you're going to have to make a compromise somewhere on something. So you might as well just get in contact with them, have a chat, and so that's what I would say. Keep an open mind, be flexible, and just trawl through those lists, looking at all the guitarists wanted stuff, and see if you can find something. But in the US, the forums like Reddit, Craigslist, they all have that kind of stuff available. And I see a lot of it on Facebook, right? So there's dedicated Facebook groups. Like there's one for where I live down in Hampshire. That's Hampshire musicians kind of forum, and literally dep gigs go up on there all the time for people looking for musicians, like-minded musicians. Just use all of those things. But what I would also say is be patient, because I know it takes a lot of time to look through those sites and trawl through it all. And then you get to the end of it all and you go, well, there's just nothing there for me. So the tendency is to then just stop and go, well, those were no use and I won't look at those again. You've got to look at them every week, every few days. Keep looking at them, because new stuff comes up. And if you miss it, someone else has got that slot in the band that could have been yours. So you got to keep revisiting.
That's awesome. That's really great advice. I like the fact that you talk about you have to be a bit open-minded, right? And maybe, like you say, if people self-limit, if they find a band that is joinable to them, but it's not quite the set list they want to play, then you really should be thinking about starting a band yourself and finding musicians to play the music you want to play. Right. If you just want to find a band that you can enjoy gigging with and get out there soon, then you should be looking for a band that's gigging, and then compromise on the music you play maybe a little bit, and then over time maybe try and influence from within the band some changes that you want to do, and say, maybe I'd love to play a few more tracks like this or that. I think that's really good.
That is it. Every band that I've joined has been like, well, once you get in, once you pass the audition, once you started gigging a bit with them, they're like, we're thinking of mixing up the set list a little bit, and what do you want to play? And it always happens like within the first few months. Set lists are very rarely absolutely set in stone, even with the worst bands I've been in, where they're like really kind of like draconian. This is what we do, this is what we play, this is our genre, blah blah blah. There's still scope to go, okay, well, what do we think of this song? And it'll get
nobody only loves 30 songs that they happen to then want to put into a set list. Everyone has thousands and thousands of tracks that they'd love to be able to gig, and I guess it's just a case of finding the people in a band that are gigging that have enough of an overlap with those songs that you'll be able to find common ground, right? That's it. And then you find that common ground and you find those songs, and hey presto.
That's it, mate. I've joined bands where, it got to the point where I really couldn't find anything. So I just ended up joining band. Like I joined a band a couple of years back that basically wanted to be, they didn't badge themselves as this, but they basically wanted to be like a Steely Dan tribute band, because most of the set list was Steely Dan numbers, and they had a few. Well, I mean, great, but I mean, to be in a Steely Dan tribute band, please. Yeah, man, you'd fit in absolutely great, right? But there's only a certain caliber of musicians like your good self and a few others that could sit into that slot, right? And they were good, but but that's tough music to do, right? But I went along and I had good fun, and I learned some cool songs and got into Steely Dan a bit more, and all of that. But yeah, I was looking for a blues like rock band and ended up like playing Steely Dan stuff in this rehearsal room. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I sitting here learning this? I was quite naive as well. I hadn't really listened to much Steely Dan, and it's quite complex stuff.
Well, there you go. I like the fact that that's kind of tip number one, though, isn't it? Being open-minded. But the next thing I wanted to mention about this was like, and this comes from experience, and I bet you've got this experience as well, because an experience we both share is we've both worked in music shops, haven't we?
Yeah.
When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I had a Saturday job. I worked full time, but I still had a Saturday job as well, working in my local music shop. And all the local musicians came in there. And I know it's probably not the same now, right, with internet shopping and Amazon and everything. But guitarists still like to go to guitar shops, and musicians still like to go and look at, instruments and things that they play and go and check things out. And and I'm sure that community is still there, where there's that music store in your town that people go to, and the person who runs that store has got a connection with all those different people, especially if there's semi-renowned to renowned bands that are in the area that gig quite frequently, that are looking for musicians. Those people who run those stores probably know that those bands are looking for musicians, or they might put ads up in the store. Do you remember doing the old thing where you would print an ad saying band looking for guitarist, and across the bottom you'd have like 10 numbers you could
tear off strips?
People still do that, I'm sure.
They still do that. They do it down at the local PMT music store. It's the first thing you see when you walk in, because they got a little foyer lobby area before you get into the main store part. And in that lobby is just a pinboard with all of that stuff. Music teachers are putting stuff up there, give you, lessons, people looking for bands. I think that's a really great tip, mate, is use your music store, but there's a few different ways, right? Exactly as you said. Ask them if you can put up an advert somewhere. Do they do that? Great if they do. Cool. No worries if they don't. Ask them if you can leave them a bunch of cards to keep behind the desk, like with your number on it. If somebody comes in and asks them, right, where can I find a guitarist? It's random, but you never know. You might get a hit off of that. The other thing, and it sounds a little bit stalkerish, but if you have got a music store near you, like hang out there a little bit, right? Like go in, buy some stuff, buy some strings, like hang out there and listen, because you'll get players coming in that you can speak to and go, oh, you playing in a band at the moment or whatever, if you like their playing, or go and sit in there and play, right? I've had people come up to me whilst I'm demoing guitars in music stores and going, oh, do you play locally? Are you in a band or whatever? I mean, you never know. You
just walk in and play Stairway, don't you? Just walk in, you grab the double neck SG down from the centre of the wall, don't you? You throw your leather body length jacket down on the floor, and you start playing Stairway. You just turn the smoke machine on. That's it. And you put your hat on the floor and then start playing Stairway, and all of a sudden you're in a band. Somebody's taking you.
Miracles can happen. No, but hang out in music shops, because what I did used to see, right, is people would meet up in music stores, right? You'd wander in to go and get a packet of strings. You'd end up spending 5 minutes talking to the guy behind the desk, and then somebody else would come in and you'd be like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, this guy's in a band. And you could, I don't know, maybe I'm living in a utopian memory of the past as to how the world used to work, where people used to just come and hang out in our music store and chat and meet each other and get gigs off each other. Maybe people just buy guitars online now and talk to each other in public.
I don't reckon that happens in your Andertons and your PMTs and these large,
sterile places.
I don't think it happens in those places. But I think if you've got, the smaller local stores, especially stores that are part of, they're part of a community of musicians that frequent that store a lot because it's unique to the area. I mean, those are it's a gold mine. Even if there's even if the community kind of exists on Facebook, you'll still be able to kind of access it through the store. It's bizarre. in a way. And so that's number one for me. Start every weekend, go down to your music store, you know.
Yeah, get to know them.
Get to know the guys or girls that run the store and their names and things like that. And so that you're at the front of their brain if somebody comes in and asks for, hey, do you know, our guitarist has just left, just moved to Mongolia to help, you know, save an indigenous species or something, and we're missing him for our Steely Dan tribute. Do you know of anyone? And they're going to go, do you know what? Yeah, there's this guy we can't get shut of. He keeps coming in every week.
Keeps hanging around.
Can you please take him? Yeah, it's going to work. It's going to work. But
contact people via WhatsApp to how things used to be done 20 years ago. Like, there couldn't be two more extremes.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to fill in the gaps in between, right? Because our listening audience have started by going, okay, yeah, that first one makes good sense, and then they've gone, the second one sounds like something out of like the 1980s for our younger listening audience.
It's like Wayne's World, isn't it? It's
like, yeah, it really is.
It is. It's like, I like to play, you know.
I like to play, but I kid you not, man. I'm laughing because honestly, what has the world come to? Because that is what used to happen in our music shop that I worked in, right? I used to be making people coffee more than I was selling guitars, because people would come in and the owner would know them and he'd introduce me, and then I'd get to know them, and then we'd hang out. How long are you here for? You want to stop and have a coffee with us for a bit? Yeah, I'll have a coffee. And they'd stay for like an hour and they'd be like, I better go. And then another hour would go and they'd still be there. Like, they're musicians. Right. What are they doing during the day? Nothing. They'd only be sleeping otherwise anyway. So, you know, they just used to come and hang out, and then people would meet.
Exactly.
Sounds weird in 2022.
I wish it was still the case, but I you know, I'm certain it still is, because you can't.
It's not, is it?
That's what's going to happen, isn't it? Sorry, Josh. Josh Chudley's going to walk into his local guitar store and start trying to have this conversation, and the guy's going to go, "What do you think it is? 1999? Get out of my store, buy something, or get out."
You get a restraining order for just being friendly to people and trying to make a connection.
We still think you should try, Josh. But
give it a go. Give it a go. That's what we do. No, we've got more. We've got better tips. We do
have better tips. What's your next tip, Kieran? What would you do next?
Right. There's a couple that I can think of. Well, this one kind of is a link from the guitar shop one, but it's kind of like, speak to your friends, call all your contacts, let them know, right? Yeah. Because like you, Matt, I've developed like a network of musicians that I know and hang out with and have a beer and stuff, but they're busy, and they sometimes just assume you're gigging, or that you haven't got time to be gigging at the moment, or whatever. But they speak to other musicians, right? So if you have a network, if you have a little black book of people that you know, even if it's like 2 or 3 people, like, just let them know, hey guys, just to let you know, I'm trying to get out and join my own band, just left another band or whatever. Yeah. If you hear about anything from anyone else, just pass them my number. I'm really looking to get into a band. So that's kind of like a really obvious one. But the other one linked to that is what I would also advise is take every depth gig that you can, reasonably accommodate in your diary, because man, depth gigs are a surefire way to get out back and gigging and keep you sharp, but also meet other people who are like, yeah, okay, great. Well, you know, I can hook you up with a band that I know is looking for a guitarist, and then they can vouch for you because they've heard you playing. Or sometimes it's been the case where I've done depth gigs for people because their other guitarist is becoming less and less reliable, and they're kind of like, actually, how would you feel about joining the band permanently? Because, you know, the guitarist is kind of not here, and that's why you're here as a depth. So
that does happen, Or sometimes the guitarist is looking to drop a gig because if something else has come along that's more convenient for them, and they need somebody to kind of take something on permanently for them. Yeah. You know, I guess it's just a case of, again, it's actually a bit of an extension of that community thing, isn't it? It's getting out there, building your connections before you try and find a band. Maybe build your connections, build the people you know. And I wanted to add to that, because one of the other things that I think helps support that exact point is try and do some research on what the music scene is like locally. Look at places like Facebook and Lemon Rock, and try and find groups that tell you when there's gigs on and which places do live music. and go to them, go and watch these bands, go and introduce yourself, and say and try and integrate yourself more into the just general live music community, even if it's frequenting those venues, and trying to be present in the community where live music happens, so that again you've got more opportunities to meet people who are in bands, and you can if you find a band, even if you find a band that doesn't need a guitarist but you like the band, go to the gigs, support them, help them out, and get to know them. And you never know, that day might come where, hey, do you know what, actually John's leaving the band, he's got to move somewhere, and Mongolia to support
again to support the other guy that went
there. That's right. But it's about being present in that community as much as you can be, even if you're not actively looking for that gig, or if you've done everything to kind of look for that gig that you want to get in a band. Whilst you're waiting for it to happen, you've got to be, I think you've got to be present and visible in that community that you find locally. And that's going to help for sure.
I think that's a great tip. And look, depending on your level of confidence, like I wouldn't necessarily have any issue doing this, but I know this is a nerve-wracking thing for people. But if you are going to these gigs and seeing bands that you like and thinking, oh God, I'd like to be part of that band, just go and have a chat to them, like in the break or when they're packing down at the end of the night. And, don't be too full on with it, because, but just saying, hey, look, I really like what you guys are playing. You guys sounded great. Would you be guys open to take my number and contact details, because I really like the kind of stuff you're doing. And if you ever need a dep or someone to come and play with you, I'd love to come and audition for you should the need arise. And that's it.
Yeah.
And they'll respond, I'm sure favorably to, oh, great, thanks very much, mate. I mean, there's a right and appropriate and nice way of coming across, just to let them know you like what they're doing. And if they ever need your services or give you the opportunity to come and play for them, here's my details. That's it. That's a really good idea.
Cool, man.
Yeah, cool.
And I think I think we've answered Josh's question as best as we can there, but you segued really nicely there into the next topic, which was what we were saying earlier on, was our kind of continuation of the conversation from last week, right, about joining a band, why you should join a band and the benefits of that. And you said just then, it'd be great if I could come along and maybe audition and show you why I could be a good member of the band, or a good dep guitarist for you to, feel confident for. Let's say that band said, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you come along? We've got a rehearsal every week on a Tuesday night or whatever. This week we're doing these songs. Come down and audition through these songs. Let's see what let's see if you can, pick up the heat for the other guitarist if you can't do the gig, or let's see what you can do to add a second guitarist. And all of a sudden now you've got your audition, you've got your opportunity, and you've got some time to prepare. That's the other subject that we wanted to approach this week. And we've got it's not a huge subject, we've got a little bit of time to cover it, but hey, Kieran, you're more experienced than I am auditioning. Do you have a process for getting ready for an audition rather than just a dep gig or something like that? Because they're kind of related. You're learning an arrangement, you're learning, what a band has asked you to do, like a dep gig. But it's more like a job interview than it is like
it's a job interview. Yeah.
A contract kind of position for a short period of time, isn't it? So
yeah, for sure. It's a job interview.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a process. So there's obviously the fundamental thing, right, which is kind of obvious to most people, which is if you're going along to an audition, learn the songs and learn them to the best that you can, right? And I won't go into the details of how to do that, because we've done a whole episode, right, on how to learn a song, right? But so that's the most obvious one, is really learn the songs. right?
Yeah.
And in most instances, it's better to have learnt a few songs really well than learn a load of songs superficially, because they're wanting to assess, are you of a decent enough quality of player to go the distance with the band, right? And if you muddle through 30 songs, 20 songs, even 10 songs, but you've brought your notes in front of you, you're trying to read scrappy bits of paper for chord changes and all of that.
Yeah.
And you're not keeping pace with, you don't have time to do that in an audition successfully. I would say it's better to rock up and have learnt 5 songs really, really brilliantly. So your guitar tone's right, your kind of approach to the song is right, you're listening to the rest of the band members, and then it clicks.
Yeah.
And every time you do that, you'll get a great, that sounds brilliant. And even if they say, what other songs do you know? And you go, guys, I learned those. Yeah, everyone knows that. Right, yeah, have a bunch of and that's a really good point though. Have a bunch of songs that you know you can fall back on, but don't try to learn all of the songs.
No.
Because again, it's an audition as well. You don't want to feel like massively deflated if you don't get the gig.
Yeah.
And then you've just spent like weeks learning all of these songs. Learn a handful of songs really well and let them know those are the ones you're going to learn. All right, that's the obvious one. And quality rather than quantity. Know them inside and out and play with the band, not play to your charts. Be on time, reliability is like a really obvious one. You know, they're probably looking for a member because the previous member is not reliable. That's like 90% of what happens. Like rarely is it somebody that just goes, I've got to go to Outer Mongolia and look after an endangered species of migrating swallow. It's generally speaking that the rest of the band's got a bit ticked off, right? And they're kind of thinking, this guy's just not reliable. He's always late. He's cancelling gigs, all of that.
That's
kind of
stuff.
So be on time. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
I've got more. Do you want more?
Of course. Absolutely. We've got
All right, I'll give you a few more.
Okay.
Bring the appropriate level of gear, right?
Okay.
Like we've spoken about Boy Scout levels of preparedness for gigs and like bringing all your stuff, bringing your spare guitars, bringing everything. Like, don't do that turning up to an audition though, because it's going to take you like more time than you've got to set up.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've been to auditions where they've been really disciplined, right? And I've been walking in with my gear to set up as the previous guy's leaving. And there's another guy waiting after me to come in after me. Right. And that's a different thing around keeping your composure, being psychologically ready, not letting that be a distraction to you and just going in and doing the audition and doing the job. Yeah. But no one's got time for you to bring in like 2 amps, 2 guitars, like, and set up 17 pedals on the floor and all of that. Right. It's just like bring the appropriate level of gear, set it up quickly and be good to go. So and if you're not quick at doing that, practice being quick at that. That's a really
good point. I hadn't thought about that when I was thinking about this beforehand, about that potential for you to have a limited time slot with quite a lot of pressure to get through, because the band's under pressure to get through. They've arranged a certain number of guys there or girls to be able to come in and audition, and actually, you know, you got to respect that band's time that they have given to you. So do what you can to be quick about it, and like you said, appropriate level of gear to be able to get the sounds you need to get for the songs that you're auditioning.
That's it.
And get in and get out, and respect them for it, I guess.
Absolutely right.
Take the time to just to kind of be. I mean, one of the things I would add as well is always try and be polite and gracious to people in the band. Shake their hands and look them in the eyes when you say hello, and be a nice person and show them. It doesn't take very long to make someone see that you're a genuine and decent person. It can be just in the way you greet them.
Yes, definitely, absolutely. That exact thing that you're talking about, and having a bit of banter so people can see your personality. Yeah, that can be done while you're setting your gear up, which is why I'm saying bring an appropriate level of gear that you know how to set up quickly and effectively, because my top tip is also use that setup time to talk to the band.
Yes.
Because again, the audition time might be precious, right? They haven't got time necessarily to sit there and listen to you tell them your life story, like before or afterwards. Don't be boring in that way, but find a slot where you can tell them enough about yourself, a bit about your experience, so they can get to know that this guy's got a sense of humor, or girl has got a sense of humor. They've got the experience we're looking for, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Try and do that bit while you're setting up, right? But then once you're set up, they're like, okay, they're set up. They've done it quickly. They seem like a nice guy because, you know, they've introduced themselves. I can see they've got a bit of sense of humor, and they've you know, they're not, you know, just going to be like paralyzed with fear. And then you're there ready to go. So it's like, okay, guys, what first number? How about this? And then you're into it. So then you're switching to showing them that you've got a work ethic, right?
That's right.
So it's like you've come in, you've set up quickly, you've got some personality, you're not boring, and then you're good to go. So work ethic time. Let's do the songs.
That's it. You're greasing the wheels for them, aren't you? You're just making it super straightforward.
So easy. Then it's so easy. You bash through your songs. You've learnt them well. You're having fun doing it. Try and engage with the band members while you're playing, which again is why you've learnt your songs really well enough. So you're not staring at your fretboard. Yeah. You're looking at the band so that, you know, you can cue each other as you would normally do when you're integrated in a band. Mm-hmm. And then once all of that's gone well, then if time allows and you're not in a revolving door situation, pack your gear up quickly and competently. And then that's generally when you're loading up your car and taking your stuff out that they're going to have a chat about it, about whether you're in or out, right? And it'll either be a case of, we've got 5 people to see and we want to have a chat about it and we'll come back to you. Or more often it's kind of like they go, right, we'd like you to join. We liked it. The audition went really well. Well done. You're in.
That's
right?
it.
And that's great. That's brilliant. That's a wonderful feeling when that happens, literally on the spot. They're like, we loved it. You're in. But then I would say, then it's the ball's in your court then to make sure that both of you have an understanding about each other's expectations. So not to then start getting demanding at that point, but just kind of talk about things openly, which is like, oh, that's brilliant, guys. I just want to go through how frequently you're gigging, how frequently you're rehearsing, just so we can make sure that I can commit to that, what locations you're gigging in, trying to establish all of that, like at that point. And if you're not sure if they're the band for you, just go, brilliant. That's great news. Thank you so much. I'm doing a couple of auditions for a couple of bands this week, and I can have a few days to work through those, and I'll definitely let you guys know by this date. And that's it.
Brilliant point.
So those are the things that I would think about being a serial auditioner for
auditioner. But I really think that's just it's almost not important about it. The guitar side of it is almost the least important. Obviously, learn the songs, have your tones ready and stuff if you need to work on your sound for the audition. But it's almost like I've always said about normal job interviews. It's if you've got a job interview, then on paper you're already right for the job in the employer's eyes, right? You're already like, okay, this person can do the job. Let's see what this person's like. And the interview's more about showing who you are as a person and how you can contribute and how you would react to certain situations, so that they can build like a profile of how this person's going to fit in their business, right? It's not about your capability. It's about who you are as a person. And I think auditions are really the same as that. I think you've got to try and find in those moments that you have the opportunities to show who you are as a person and why you should be, offered the position in the band. And it's not just about how you play and how you sound, is it? I mean, I've played in bands before with guys who are some of the most just wonderfully gifted musicians before that I wouldn't want to spend a moment of my time with. I wouldn't want to be in a band with people like that because it's tiring, it's difficult, and people don't want to be in tiring, difficult situations when they're in a band.
Exactly right, mate. Exactly. And I think we did we do an episode way back, like one of the earlier episodes, which was like how not to behave, like if you're in a band, or like some of our worst band experiences, like being in a band with people.
We did do something like that.
I think one of our listeners, Rob, like commented on it in the social media as well to say basically can be summed up by just don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. People.
That's it. That's entirely the truth. So episode 30 of the podcast, way back in August last year, was how to be in a band.
Right.
But we also did one in June, episode 24 of last year, which was the best and worst gigs we ever had. So, a couple of episodes from the back catalogue of Guitar Smarts there to go and listen to, as well as this one. If you're enjoying this episode, go back and listen to those two as well, because
they're different, right? Because those episodes focused on conduct and teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
And elements of that, right? So that's the kind of things that you've got to also demonstrate somehow in a short audition, that you've got those qualities and you're not a dick.
Exactly.
And to your point, exactly, it's the guitar playing is only part of it.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think if you've been given the audition, just say to yourself, okay, I know I can already do this. This is easy enough, but that's not why I'm auditioning. You're not just, take it as a given that you can perform and sound and play like how they want somebody to play. Concentrate on the thing of why, answer the question for them why you should be in the band and not the other guys or girls that are auditioning, on that night. That's the key. Like you said it perfectly at the beginning. It's a job interview, isn't it? It's that's what you're doing. You're trying to get somebody to select you for something that they know you can already do, but they have a choice between multiple options, right? So, swing the balance your way.
Yeah, exactly right.
There we go.
Fun.
We go. Well, we've answered Josh's question. Thank you very much, Josh. And to anybody else listening, you can always pop onto the social media pages, the Guitar Smarts page on Facebook, our Instagram page, or newly founded community on Facebook, which is called the Guitar Geek Hangout. You can come on there and ask questions. And like Josh's question, which was a follow-up from our last podcast a couple of weeks ago, why you should join a band. If it's a fantastic enough question like Josh's is, we may just turn it into a podcast to answer your question anyway. So. Yeah,
that was a great question, which took us in a whole different set of directions over the last hour. And mate, thanks for setting up the Guitar Geek Hangout.
No worries.
There's a lovely little forum of beautiful, wonderful people feeding in and like posting. It's great. Why didn't we do this sooner?
Well, that's it. It's kind of like, I thought it's better if we have a group instead of just a page, we can interact a little bit more.
Yeah,
right? Other people can post and start topics and things like that, and we can just help. Because we've got a lot of listeners now. We've had a lot of downloads, and we've got a lot of listeners from all over the world. And I think it's now's the time. Maybe it's overdue, but now's the time at least for us to kind of build a place where you guys listening to us can come together and communicate and talk about anything. It doesn't have to just be about the podcast, but it can be about anything that we
and educate us on stuff that we get wrong, or stuff that you want us to talk about.
I'm sure we get stuff wrong all the time.
Controversial topics.
Tell us if we're wrong about something. Come and tell us, and we'll thank you for it.
Definitely. Beautiful, man. What a great episode. I really enjoyed it today,
Yeah, me
mate.
too, buddy. It was a good conversation. That, I think, was a fantastic follow-up to the last podcast we did, and some great questions there. And I finished my coffee, so, just once again, big thank you to Andrew Cole for his, his contribution. I've enjoyed my coffee, and I'm very grateful for it. So,
and if anyone else would like to buy us a coffee, we would greatly appreciate it. And of course, we are spending the money on coffee because we love coffee, really.
That's it. Oh, it's fantastic. True. I do. Yeah.
It's true. I had too much. I had too much coffee.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. No such thing as too much coffee. Well, maybe there is. Maybe for other people around you in your life, there's too much coffee for you to have. But I don't know. Anyway. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you too, pal.
Hope you have a cracking week, and I will speak to you later on.
Yeah. Speak to you soon, pal.
All the best, mate.
Cheers,
bye.
mate.
Thanks so much for listening. Great conversation again. If you like what you hear, then remember there are 58 other episodes you can check out. Go and enjoy every one of those beauties. Anyway, best wishes and see you next time on the Guitar Smarts podcast.